So if you think you're hunting in an area where you're going to find a nice coin, my buddies in England, they carry small little bags. And all they'll do is they'll take it and put it directly in a bag, take it home. You know, because they're not going to mess it up in the field taking a chance. You know, they're not going to rub on it, they're not going to scrape on it. That's the way they can take care of their coin. If I'm in an area that I'm picking up old coins, but one of the ghost towns we go to, they never come out in coin collector shape. So I'm not going to go and put them in a little bag because, you know, they're not going to be anything that I can turn into a coin dealer and make any money on. So usually what I do is put a little pill bottle in my pouch, put a little soapy water in it, and I'm not even going to sit there and rub it out in the field because a lot of times all you can tell is by the size what type of coin it is. You might find a penny shaped or sized coin. Could be a wheat penny, could be Indian head, but it doesn't pay to sit there and mess with it. So you just drop it in the soapy water and let it clean as you walk and go back. Most of the coins we find there are pennies, nickels, dimes, maybe a quarter, and they all fit in there. If you had high hopes, you can get a little bigger one and it'll hold $50 silver dollar. Usually when either any of us find a $50 or silver dollar, we're kind of this far above the ground and we just go back to the truck or car and show everybody because it's more important. But something like this comes in real handy. If you're out hunting for relics, folks that hunt Civil War sites carry multiple bottles like this. Usually not quite as big, but they are in hopes of finding buttons or drop bullets or something, and they don't want to put them in a pouch and have them bounce around. The buttons usually come out very, very fragile, so they put either a little tissue or some cotton in the bottom of one of these, put it in there, and then drop some cotton on top of it so it doesn't rattle around. Drop shells are the same way. The bullet, the lead part, doesn't break down very easily, but the shell could. It could have been sitting there a long time. It could have gotten banged around. It could have had different chemicals on it. And the better it's intact, the more value it has.
Well, Scott, could you explain what a target is for the newcomers? A target, a find, a relic? Just real quick if you can.
Well, most of us are coin hunters. You know, most of the detectors are set up to tell you coin, and it could tell you what coin it is. Zinc penny, copper penny, nickel, dime, quarter, $50 on its display. It can just point to it. Some of them that don't have all the features might just say it's in this range. It could be this, or this, this, or this. Gold and silver on it. Silver comes all the way up to the top. And silver could be a silver coin, could be our coinage that's 90% silver. It could be a ring that's made out of silver. Sterling silver is 0.925 pure silver. And that comes up at the top. You'll see on most detectors, gold targets cover everywhere from almost iron all the way up to almost silver. That's because you don't know what's mixed with gold. It could be something that has more conductivity, and the higher you go, the higher your signal is. Or white gold, platinum, those rings come down very low in the scale, almost down to the iron level. Iron is anything that it was made out of steel. Nails, screws, barbed wire. So many farm implements are made out of iron. And for the most part, people in this room don't want to find those things. So your detector, you can look at something above that. So anytime you get a signal, it's a target. It could be a pull tab. It's a target. A lot of times you dig everything. A lot of times you know enough about your detector that you decide what you're going to spend your time digging. Pull tabs. You can have a pretty good idea where a pull tab falls on your detector, but that doesn't mean that a nice gold ring doesn't fall exactly in that same place. Doesn't mean that, you know, you might have to pick up 100 signals just like that to find that gold ring, but it could be there. Some people just don't have the patience to dig every single target. Is that what you wanted, Ollie?
No, when you say relic, like, I never knew what a relic was until you explained what a relic was.
Relic is just anything old. You know, it could be a bullet. A lot of people go hunting Civil War sites, and the kind of things you find in Civil War sites, bullets. That's what they were doing. They're sitting there shooting at each other, and those are very collectible. The buttons off their uniforms, those are all collectible. They're belt buckles. Anything on the uniform that indicated that it was part of the Civil War is a relic. An old horseshoe is a relic. A square nail that they used to build houses, those are relics.
But a coin wouldn't be considered a relic.
I wouldn't. I'd consider it a coin.
Okay.
Just an old coin. Any other questions like that? Okay. Well, out in the field, you want to just treat your find how you think you need to have it taken care of. If it's something very valuable, you do very little cleaning out there. If it's something that's not of great value and you can't wait till you've gotten home to clean it, then you can have little things like this to clean your item. When I go to ghost towns and stuff, I put little things like this. A little scratch pad that's Adobe pad. It'll sit there and it'll rub off enough of the crud on the coin, usually to read it. If it doesn't, probably nothing you have is going to do it, but you can use a glorified toothbrush. This is just a nylon bristle brush. If you want a little more oomph, this is a brass bristle brush, and again, you can use that. You're going to put some scratches on your coin, but if it has no value, every month I clean all of my coins, and I don't really care if they have a blemish on them, because all they're going to do is go back into the banking system. So any of these will do the same thing. The brass doesn't scar it up as much. A steel bristle brush scars it up a little bit more.
You should only use steel on iron.
Really? And the reason? Just because steel on steel?
It's too hard for any coins or tokens, and it does destroy them nearly. Brass, you just take your time and use it, and it'll do as good as you can do.
Okay.
But
Well, when I get home, this is my cleaning tool of choice. These tumblers, I use either, this is just aquarium gravel. This is your cheapest material you can put in there. You fill it up about a quarter of the way with this. You put in your coins. You turn this puppy on for a couple hours, and it sits there, and the material in there will clean all the crud off the coins.
I put soap in there at all?
I usually put something like Dawn or Joy or something, just a little dollop, and what that does is it also cleans. You know, it just gets all the grime off it. Then I take it out and I rinse all the material. You also have to put water in it. You cover up just above the coins. That gives it enough slurry in there to get around and move and do all of that. Then the second time, I put this powder. And I get this powder at Kelly Co. And they just call it a cleaning powder. But this is a coin that came out of the ground brown. And if you look at it now, it looks like it's brand new. You know, you can see wear on it, but it's just super clean. And this powder just polishes them all up so that when you take them to the bank, they don't ever say anything about it. If you took your coins in there that you took out of the ground, they couldn't run them through their coin counter and you'd get them all back. So basically, if you don't think you could run it through a machine, then you shouldn't turn it in that way. The only thing when you're using this is you don't want to mix coins. You can put dimes and quarters together because they're clad and made out of the same thing. You can put pennies together. Nickels would probably be okay with the dimes and quarters, but I usually run them separately. In this last batch I did, I put something in it, or there was a stain on one of them, and the shade is not the nickel shade anymore. But again, the folks at the bank don't really care. If you put a penny in with your dimes and quarters, then they're going to all have a copper tint to them. Calico also sells their gravel. They do a red bag, I think, for the copper coins and blue for the silver colored coins. I haven't seen that big a difference. I also have purchased in the past little steel shot. And all of these work pretty good, but if you leave your steel shot in one of these with a little water in it, then you have a big pile of rust. So, and I'm not always as careful about those kind of things as I should be. But these do a pretty good job. I run about a couple hours the first pass just to get the crud off of them. And the reason I do 2 passes is even if you use this powder on that first one, it keeps all that other grime in there and it just leaches back into the coin. So I get rid of all the grime on it, then I go back and polish them, and it works pretty nice.
Do you put the powder in the grinder, tumbler?
Yes,
With the aggregate?
yes. And I usually use about a half a teaspoon. You don't need very much. Right now, these are on sale at Harbor Freight for $49.99. Their regular price is $89.99. And a version of this that Calico sells is for $119. I haven't used this one. I've turned it on and watched it turn. It turns a little bit faster than the Calico version, which really shouldn't hurt anything. So I have the utmost confidence that this will work fine.
Scott, I just bought that model on Wednesday at the Harbor Freight on the north side of town, and I've been using it since then, cleaning my coins, and it works well. The only thing you have to watch out for is when you put the lid on, you've really got to make sure it's on right, and test.
Because it pops off?
Well, if it's not down flush and everything tight and the seal in properly, when you put it on its side, water can drip out. But other than that, it seems to work really well. And I'm just using the aquarium gravel, a little soap, a little water.
Yep. And what I usually do, I run 2 of these at a time, and I put them in like a food tray, so that if there is any leakage, it goes into there, because they do leak. Sometimes they can get volatile, okay? They can build up some pressure in there, and as soon as you take off the top, like this, I've put put this under there, I've had it actually fly off. It's built up so much pressure. So you don't want to put too much soap in there because the bubbles have to go somewhere. And so,
Also, at Harbor Freight, there's coupons everywhere for, I think, they're 25% off. So you get the sale price plus another 25%.
the powder was $14 at Kellyco. And they also make another, they call it a metal vibrator tumbler. It's a probably about a 2-gallon container on top, and this thing just goes like that. It's a exactly, and I've used it on coins, and it does okay, but it makes so much more racket than this that, you know, it may take less time, but those will probably work too. I got the walnuts in there, and it does the job. It just made kind of a too much. I didn't anchor it to my workbench. I just let it kind of sit there, and that wasn't the way to do it. It does, runs. Basically, that's the kind of things that I do for coins. If you have a good coin and you have any inkling of taking it to a coin shop, I wouldn't touch it other than possibly putting some olive oil on it. You can't hurt a coin by doing that. One of the things that they recommend is soaking it in olive oil for a long period of time, and everything I have heard is that, you know, it's measured in months, not in days. Years.
Trust me.
And, you know, so what you can do is take a Q-tip and put it on there, and what you're going to do is prevent that coin from oxidizing in the air. You know, if you keep it nice and moist, then you can take it in. The coin dealer is going to use something similar to that, and he's going to clean it with that. But, you know, basically, he's not going to improve it much, but he won't make it worth less. And you won't make it worth less. If he thinks you've done anything to it, even the rubbing on it, he'll scold you for doing anything to it.
That means you don't rub it with the alcohol, with the olive oil either.
No, they've told me it's okay to just put a little bit on there.
Yeah, but don't rub it.
Well, no, don't rub it. All you're doing is covering the
Yeah,
coin.
if you cover it with a Q-tip, it's fine, but don't take your finger and rub it.
Okay. This was about coins to start with, and I decided that it ought to be just other targets. I know a lot of us find a lot of jewelry, and this was probably something that I learned from Lee a long time ago. And you don't do it with every piece of jewelry. If you get a ring that's got any kind of a stone in it, then you don't want to do any of these things to it, because you could destroy the stone. A diamond you're not going to destroy, but you could mess up the prongs on it. You could do all kinds of stuff. But most of the things we get out of the lake or the river are not in very good shape when they come out. Gold usually looks like it's gold, but it doesn't have to. If you got something that was made in Mexico, some of the things that they mix with their gold just doesn't hold up well in river and lakes with all the chemicals in there. And so you might get something that's really doesn't look gold, but you get a reading on it that's gold-like, and maybe inside it says 10 karat or 14 karat. You can take good old Arm & Hammer baking soda, just put a little bit of it in your hand, a little bit of water, and you can start rubbing, and easy enough you get whatever that patina that's around it off. And it makes a big difference, because, you know, something that's really dull and then it kind of shines it up, you can tell pretty much that you've got a precious metal. When you're doing silver, a lot of times they come out totally black out of the water. And you can do this, and you can use a lot of elbow grease before you get down to what you think is silver. And there's been times when I had enough stuff to put in there, just use my rock tumbler. You know, put the polish in there because there's not so much gunk on it, but you just let it run for an hour or so, and that cleans that off, and it's not, business quality at that point, but it's good enough you can see it, it shines and stuff like that. And so it's, at least you have a good feeling that it is silver.
As far as the stones go, you never do this to opals, and you never do it to pearls.
But
Run them like that, because they are soft stones.
you don't do it with any stones.
You can do it, if you know it's a diamond or an emerald or a ruby, it's not gonna hurt it.
I don't think I'd do it with anything with a stone.
Yeah.
If you're looking at just the metal of the ring, then it's probably okay. If it's a very intricate ring, I'm not sure I would do it, because there are so many other ways to clean it. I don't know about you, but I started with stuff like this when I first started cleaning. These are pretty much things you can get Walmart or any jewelry store, and they make one for gold and they make one for silver. And if you've ever dropped a few things in the silver one, it doesn't take long for this very unpleasant odor to arrive. And I think because it releases some of the sulfuric acid and stuff, it's breaking down that tarnish, but it's not very pleasant, And when you get done, you don't have a silver colored ring. You've got this really, it's kind of yellowish, but the tarnish is gone. Then you can take something like your Arm & Hammer and rub that off a lot easier and clean it. But again, the process is just really, it's not an easy one. Silver is not a fun thing to clean, as far as I'm concerned. My wife got me something that she thought would help, a little ultrasonic cleaner, and I found that all that did was kind of shake things for a while. This was more a toy or something that it really didn't do a whole lot. And then I got this one at Harbor Freight, and maybe to the naked eye, it doesn't really show a lot either. The place I used to work, I'd have access to a high-powered microscope, and I would take my rings in there, and all the little prongs and stuff, you could, look clean, naked eye, even with a magnifier, but you get it under one of these microscopes, and you can see all the crud that's in there. You can see the stuff on the back of the diamonds or the stones, and it just doesn't show up very well. Well, I found about 5 minutes in this baby, and it just shakes all that loose. This guy I paid $75 for, Harbor Freight. And to me, that was worth it. This is also the jumbo size, and you can do it for your shell casings. That's one of the things they said it's good for.
Well, is it an ultrasonic cleaner? Is that what it is?
It is an ultrasonic cleaner.
You use just regular water?
Just regular water. On occasions when I think I need something a little bit heavier duty, I will put my ring in this and then set that in the water so that it gets the same action and it gets a little chemical help too. I have done it with this, but I'm not really happy with the results. I don't like that at all, but I keep it when I have something that's really tough. Chains, necklaces and bracelets and stuff. If they've really got crud built up on them, there's not easy ways to get those looking nice. And so I use this, I use the tumbler. The last thing, and I do this on all of them anyway, is the little jewelry wipes that you get also at Walmart. After you've done all this other, they're clean, but they're not polished. And you can take this to it and make a high sheen. Makes them look really nice.
And your spouse was Steve.
Mine won't.
Oh, she won't, huh?
Yeah. She'll hand me her ring and say, "Go clean this."
Oh, okay.
Hey, Scott, how long do you tumble the coins and stuff when you're cleaning?
I usually, again, if they're really tough ones, I might do the first part for a couple hours and then the next part overnight. It takes almost no power to run this thing because the rock polishers, they run them for weeks and weeks. So. It's really just whatever you want to spend the time doing. Any questions? When it comes to other relics, I don't go collecting other relics much. I would say that in most cases, like buttons, I've watched them on TV where a guy tried to clean it with his thumb and he crushed his button. So I'd say you probably don't try and clean any of those. You just, maybe with a little brush, maybe a little running water on it. And then I think you coat them all. Wouldn't you coat them with something like olive oil?
Normally, you want to coat them with like olive oil, unless you're going to do a lot. If you really don't care about the condition that much, you can actually take a clear lacquer and spray them, and it'll keep them looking really nice, but it ruins their value. If you're just keeping them for yourself, you can do that.
And this is a good point. There's a lot of coins that I've found that I'm not going to sell, and so I just want them so they show well, and so I want the details of the coin. So I might take an older coin and tumble it so that all the details are nice and sharp. If you are planning on selling it, or whoever inherits all your stuff wants to sell it, they're going to find out that you decreased the value of the coin by messing with it.
If you're like me, everybody all they do is throw them in a Coke machine and buy Coke with it, so it doesn't
Then you
matter.
haven't diminished anything.
Right.
You just made the Coke vendor happy.
Happier.
Scott, I think those coin guys were laughing at our fines, because evidently to them, unless they come out mint, proves that they're not really worth anything
Well,
anyway.
in general, there are so many opportunities to get very nice looking coins that have been put away in displays that, coins that we find out there, very few of them are put into collections.
Well, realistically, anything buried in the ground for very long is not going to be a collectible coin. I mean, you can make it worth less, but it's not going to be a collectible coin coming out, no matter how you get it out.
In general, I did find a quarter down at Gulf last time that was the right date and it showed very little wear, and it was graded up high enough so that it had a value of about $85. So you can't say you'll never find anything out there, but or detecting, but it's just not likely. And if you're concerned, you can always carry a couple of these around. That way, if you get something that looks good, you just put it in a little bag and wait till you get back home.
Scott, in the relic realm, like lucky enough to find a Civil War belt buckle or anything like that, what are they made out of, and do they have any value?
Oh yeah, they're made out of brass, most of them, and
What's
they're
brass?
Some are
Oh,
brass, some
brass.
are iron.
well, they're all valuable.
Yeah.
If they're intact, they're valuable.
So you find, let's say, I'm lucky enough to find a U.S. Civil War belt buckle that's made out of iron or something that's kind of rusty. You wouldn't want to brush it or anything like that.
I wouldn't do anything to a relic.
Okay.
I would take it to an expert and let them clean it.
If you don't want it to do anything, you could run water over it and then let it dry on a towel.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that without hurting it.
Well, anything that's made of iron,
Yeah.
once you wet it, you better dry it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's going to start the rust
Yeah, put
process.
it on a towel and blow dry it and it'll work. As good as you're gonna get out of the ground.
You know, anytime you find anything Civil War, it's gonna have some value
Yeah.
to somebody.
Who do you take it to know if it's Civil War?
I know a lot of guys go onto the treasure magazines and send little pictures of stuff to them. Here, you know, maybe somebody in the club has seen enough of things that they would know. We're not in a high Civil War
Now,
area.
if you have
If,
Civil War stuff, they have a show like the first weekend in December in Nashville every year. If you're really into finding a bunch of stuff and you want to know, that's the place to go. But combine it with a vacation.
well, even the Texas Council show, it's not called the Texas Council anymore, but there's a
State
lot of,
show
there's a lot of guys there that do
did that.
nothing but Civil War.
So you just take your items to them?
Sure.
And they'll just tell you what it's worth and what it is.
Oh, okay, if you're hunting around San Antonio, Gonzales, any place like that where there might have been a battle, and you find something like a Mexican buckle or, I guess maybe what, U.S. Cavalry, would they have been around here back then?
No.
Very, very little activity here.
Yeah.
There's some down near.
East Texas has got some, but around Austin, South Texas,
South Texas.
you have to go all the way down to Brownsville to have anything there back.
That doesn't mean that if you find a belt buckle, that it's not valuable.
Right.
Yeah,
It's just you may not find Civil War sites here.
Yeah.
yeah,
We've gone on several hunts in Louisiana,
Yeah.
and that was about as close as we could go to get access to a site.
And I've been, when I go to New Mexico, I used to go to Gloria, there's actually a battle site about, right there at Glorieta Pass. And that's pretty much the nearest Civil War battle site, almost, between Louisiana and anything west of Glorieta Pass.
Now, if you look at, when we went to Kinder's and that was the Republic of Texas camp, where their house is in that area. So there was, I don't remember, several hundred soldiers camped there. So you could find Republic of Texas stuff there possibly. Although it's been hunted fairly heavy, you know nothing's ever hunted out, you just gotta go over it.
Why wouldn't Camp Ben be the same thing then? Or what-
Camp Ben, it was after the war, they returned there for a reunion.
Yeah.
They did not necessarily have any uniforms or anything on, necessarily. And the only uniforms that probably were ever there is in the early days, they did a little bit of reacting, you know, and that there. So theoretically there, all you're gonna find is possibly old coins from probably 1880 or so forward. Because I don't remember the exact year they started there, but somebody said it was 1866, the year after, but I don't know that to be true. But they've been meeting there, and the group that owns that has been members of the family of the originals since the beginning, so.
And don't give up on certain areas, because it could be that some things happened that weren't well published. So, you know, there's, you know, Texas is just as old as every place else. It's just kind of spread out, and, you know, some of the things aren't just as easily accessible. And almost everything in Texas now is on private property.
Yeah.
Where a lot of these other places, you know, it's still public domain.
You were talking a little bit earlier about hunting ghost towns. Are there any within a 100-mile range of the Austin area?
All over. Access to them is sometimes, you know, that's where you gotta do some research.
Yeah.
We were real lucky, the place we go to down near Matagorda, one of our members flew helicopters over it, and he saw this nice little grid pattern of oleander bushes, and what it did is it marked off all the streets. And then he went and did some research and found out that it was a town that was a company town used to mine sulfur from about 1916 to 1935 or so. And after World War I, and they didn't need sulfur as much, they found a phosphorus mine 100 miles away, 60 miles away, I can't remember, picked up the town and moved it. So all the people that were working for them went, or most of them went to this other.
And they literally moved the houses. I mean,
Yeah.
So it's a ghost town, private property?
Yes.
Or
It's owned by a chemical company, and because there was so much processing done on it to get the sulfur out, cleanup on it would cost them too much to sell it. So basically, it's just dead property.
Yeah.
And it used to be that we could take the whole club there for a hunt. And then they got shaky about liability, and now it's a select few that get to go. But that doesn't mean there's not other ghost towns just like that, you know, even closer. It's just probably on private property, and what you've got to do is, you know, and most of us aren't very good at this research stuff, you know. We kind of want somebody to come pick us up and say, here, go detect. And
Yeah.
if you spend a little time looking for some of these places, shoot, just anywhere in Austin, this is old, you know. If you can find somebody living in a house, that the house was built there in the 1850s or something, anything that was lost back that far is going to be kind of neat. So there's lots of places. You just got to, you know, knock on a door or something and get permission. Do a little bit of research.
well, there's some things from the 1950s that's pretty good too, like Superman rings, and also Roy Roger rings and stuff like that. Those things are very valuable if you can get one in decent shape.
All the coins from 1950.
They're all silver.
Silver.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
You don't have to go back to 1800s to get nice things. Thanks, Scott.
I think we're gonna take a short break, give everybody a chance to get a raffle ticket. We got coins and some tickets to Elmo Draft House up here at Verizon. And also go back and rate the fines of the month.
yes, please come vote. Everyone can vote.